Confidence is not something you wear. It's something you become. And when a girl truly becomes confident, she doesn't just succeed, she becomes unstoppable. Stay with me until the end, because the final lessons will completely change how you see yourself and your future. Confidence begins with one quiet, powerful decision. The decision to stop fighting who you are. Most of us don't realize how much energy we spend at war with ourselves. We compare our bodies, our voices, our journeys, our timelines, our mistakes, our past, our dreams, constantly measuring our worth against someone else's life. We scroll through perfect images, filtered happiness, curated success, and somewhere deep inside, a small voice begins to whisper, "I'm not enough." And the dangerous thing about that voice is not that it exists, it's that we start believing it. I remember a time when I walked into rooms where I felt like I had to become someone else to belong. Speak a certain way, look a certain way, shrink certain parts of myself and exaggerate others. And for a while, the world rewarded that performance. But here's what no one tells you. Every time you pretend to be someone else, you abandon a piece of your power, because confidence cannot grow in a place where authenticity is missing. Real confidence is not built by becoming what the world approves of. It is built the moment you stand in front of the mirror. Not the physical mirror, but the emotional one, and say, "This is me, not perfect, not finished, but real. And I choose to accept myself as I am today." Self-acceptance is not resignation. It is not saying, "This is all I'll ever be." It is saying, "I am worthy even while I grow." And that shift changes everything, because when you stop rejecting yourself, you stop looking for permission to exist. Think about a tree for a moment. It does not apologize for the way its branches grow. It does not compare its height to the trees beside it. It does not wake up wishing it were a flower. It simply grows toward the light, imperfect, uneven, shaped by storms, seasons, and time. And yet, that is exactly what makes it strong. You are the same. Your struggles, your background, your failures, your detours, they are not weaknesses. They are the roots of your strength. But confidence cannot grow if you keep cutting your own roots with self-criticism. I've met so many talented, brilliant, capable people who still hesitate, still shrink, still doubt, not because they lack ability, but because they never learned to accept themselves first. They are waiting to become perfect before they feel confident. But confidence is not the reward for perfection. It is the starting point for growth. The truth is, the world will always have opinions. Some people will think you're too much. Others will think you're not enough. Some will misunderstand your ambition. Others will question your choices. If you build your identity on their approval, you will live your entire life adjusting your soul to fit someone else's comfort. And that is exhausting. Self-acceptance is freedom. It is the moment you stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do I respect myself?" It is choosing your values over their validation. It is honoring your journey instead of comparing your timeline. It is forgiving your past instead of carrying it like a burden. Because here's something powerful. Confidence grows fastest in the soil of self-forgiveness. Many people cannot accept themselves because they are still holding on to their mistakes, their failures, their regrets. They replay old decisions, old embarrassments, old losses, as if those moments define their entire identity. But you are not your worst decision. You are not your lowest moment. You are not your past. You are the awareness that learned from it. You are the strength that survived it. You are the wisdom that came from it. And the day you stop punishing yourself for who you used to be, you create space to become who you're meant to be. There is also something deeply spiritual about self-acceptance. When you accept yourself, you are trusting that your life, your experiences, your personality, your path has purpose, that your uniqueness is not an accident, that your differences are not flaws, that your voice, your perspective, your story matter in ways you may not even see yet. When you reject yourself, you question the very design of your journey. But when you accept yourself, you step into alignment with your purpose. And that alignment creates a quiet, unshakable confidence. Not loud, not arrogant, but grounded and real. You start walking differently, speaking differently. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're no longer hiding from yourself. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you accept yourself, you stop competing with others. Comparison loses its grip. You stop feeling threatened by someone else's success, beauty, or progress because you understand that your path is your own. And when comparison disappears, your energy returns to where it belongs. Your growth, your dreams, your life. Imagine how powerful that is. No more emotional energy wasted on jealousy, insecurity, or self-doubt. Just focus, just clarity, just forward movement. That is where unstoppable confidence begins. But let me be honest, self-acceptance is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. Some days you will feel strong. Other days you will hear that old voice again. The one that says you're behind, you're not hot, ready, you're not enough. On those days, confidence is not about feeling powerful. It is about choosing yourself anyway. Speaking kindly to yourself, showing up, even when you doubt. Treating yourself with the same compassion you give to others. Because confidence is not the absence of insecurity. It is the decision not to let insecurity control your life. And if this is speaking to you right now, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And the final points will change how you see your potential. But before we move forward, understand this deeply. The world responds to the way you see yourself. When you accept yourself, you set a standard for how others treat you. When you respect your boundaries, your time, your worth, your voice, people begin to feel that energy, not because you demand respect, but because you embody it. Confidence is contagious, and it begins within. So today, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Where am I still rejecting myself? Is it your appearance, your past? You carry a path, your personality, your dreams. Whatever it is, bring awareness to it, not judgment, just awareness. And then make a small, powerful shift. Instead of saying, I hate this about myself, say, I am learning to accept this part of me. Because acceptance opens the door to growth. Rejection only keeps you stuck. Remember this, confidence does not come from becoming someone else. It comes from finally coming home to yourself. And when you do, something incredible happens. You stop chasing confidence, you start living it. And trust me, this is only the beginning. The next lessons will take this foundation and turn it into real, unstoppable power. So stay with me until the end, because what comes next might be exactly what your life needs. Right now, there comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that her silence has cost her more than her mistakes ever could. Your voice is not just sound. It is identity, it is presence, it is power. And yet, so many of us were taught, directly or indirectly, to soften it, to filter it, to shrink it, so that others would feel comfortable. We learned to say, it's okay when it wasn't, to nod when we disagreed, to stay quiet in rooms where our ideas were needed, to choose approval over honesty, and slowly, without even noticing, we began to disappear from our own lives. I remember early in my journey walking into spaces where I felt small, where I believed everyone else was more experienced, more confident, more deserving of being heard. I would rehearse my thoughts in my head, wait for the perfect moment, and then watched the conversation move on before I spoke. And every time I stayed silent, something inside me weakened, not because others ignored me, but because others ignored me, but because I ignored myself. That's the hidden cost of silence. When you don't express your truth, you begin to question whether your truth matters at all. But here is something I want you to understand deeply. Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. Confidence is about giving your voice permission to exist. It's about speaking even when your heart is racing, even when your hands feel cold, even when your mind whispers, "What if they judge me?" Because the real question is not, what if they judge you? The real question is, what happens to you if you keep hiding? Your voice is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the harder it feels to speak. Think about a child learning to walk. The first steps are shaky, uncertain, even awkward. But imagine if that child decided after one fall, maybe walking isn't for me. That is what we do with our voices. We speak once, maybe get interrupted, maybe misunderstood, maybe ignored, and we retreat. But confidence grows through repetition, not perfection. It grows every time you say what you really think in a meeting. Every time you express a boundary instead of tolerating discomfort. Every time you share an idea instead of waiting for someone else to say it first. And here's something powerful. Your voice is not only for you. It is for the people who need to hear your perspective. There are rooms waiting for your insight. Conversations waiting for your honesty. People who will feel seen because you spoke what they were afraid to say. When you silence yourself, you don't just hold yourself back, you withhold value from the world. And often, the fear isn't just about speaking, it's about being seen. Because when you speak your truth, you reveal who you are, your opinions, your values, your convictions. And that vulnerability can feel terrifying. But let me tell you something I learned through experience. Authenticity attracts the right opportunities and the right people. The moment you stop performing and start expressing, your life begins to align with who you really are. You may lose some approval along the way. Some people may disagree. Some may misunderstand you. But what you gain is far more valuable: self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of lasting confidence. There is also a spiritual dimension to using your voice. Your voice is your expression of the life within you. When you speak your truth, you are honoring the awareness, the experiences, and the wisdom that your journey has given you. Silence, when it comes from fear, is a form of self-rejection. But expression, even imperfect expression, is a form of self-trust. And trust in yourself is where confidence becomes unshakable. I've seen women transform not because their circumstances changed, but because they stopped asking for permission to speak. A young professional who finally shared her idea, and it changed her entire career path. A woman who said no for the first time and reclaimed her peace. A creative who shared her work despite fear and discovered her purpose. None of these moments required perfection. They required courage. And courage is simply action taken before confidence arrives. Many people believe they will speak once they feel confident. But the truth is, confidence comes after you speak. It comes after you survive the moment you were afraid of. After you realize the world didn't collapse. After you feel the quiet strength of honoring yourself. And over time, something shifts. Your voice becomes steadier. Your words become clearer. Your presence becomes stronger. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're no longer afraid of your own truth. And here's another important truth. Using your voice also means choosing your voice, also means choosing your words with awareness. Confidence is not aggression. It is not speaking over others or forcing your opinion. True confidence is calm, grounded, and intentional. It is the ability to say what needs to be said without losing your center. It is strength without hostility, clarity without ego, power without noise. When your voice comes from self-awareness rather than insecurity, people feel the difference. They listen differently. They respond differently. Because energy speaks louder than volume. If this is resonating with you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful, and what comes Utter will help you turn this courage into a life-changing inner strength. But before we move forward, I want you to reflect on something honestly. Where in your life are you still silent? Is it in your work, your relationships, your family, your dreams? Maybe you haven't told someone how you truly feel. Maybe you've been tolerating something that doesn't align with your values. Maybe you've been hiding your ambition because you're afraid of being judged. Whatever it is, understand this. Every time you choose silence over truth, you move further away from your authentic life. And every time you choose expression, even in a small way, you move closer to your power. Start small if you need to. Share your opinion in one conversation. Express one honest boundary. Speak one idea you would normally keep to yourself. Confidence doesn't grow through dramatic moments. It grows through consistent everyday courage. And as your voice grows stronger, something beautiful begins to happen. You stop fearing rejection. You stop overthinking every word. You stop editing your personality to fit the room. You begin to trust that your presence, your perspective, your truth are enough. That is when your voice becomes more than communication. It becomes influence. It becomes leadership. It becomes freedom. And trust me, this is only the beginning, because what comes next will show you how to handle the fear, the rejection, and the challenges that appear when you finally step into your power. Stay with me until the final lessons, because if you miss them, you'll regret it. This journey isn't just about speaking louder. It's about becoming someone who is no longer afraid to be heard. There is a moment that breaks most people, the moment they hear the word no, not selected, not chosen, not good enough, not this time. And in that moment, something inside them quietly begins to question their worth. Rejection has a way of feeling personal, even when it isn't. It doesn't just close a door. It doesn't just close a story. Maybe you're not talented enough. Maybe you don't belong. Maybe you aim too high. I've stood in that moment more times than I can count. Rooms where I gave my best and still wasn't chosen. Opportunities I believed were meant for me that went to someone else. Dreams that seemed within reach, only to slip away with a polite smile and a professional email. And each time I had a choice to see rejection as a verdict or to see it as a message. Most people misunderstand rejection because they think it's a judgment of their value. But rejection is rarely about your worth. It's about timing, alignment, perspective, or simply someone else's decision based on factors you may never see. Imagine a key trying to open the wrong lock. No matter how perfectly made the key is, the door won't open. That doesn't mean the key is flawed. It just means the door isn't meant for it. Rejection works the same way. It is not always a denial of your ability. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes it is life quietly moving you toward a path you haven't yet discovered. But here's the deeper truth. Rejection is one of the most powerful builders of confidence if you allow it to teach you instead of defeat you. Because every time you hear no and still choose to continue, you strengthen something inside you that success alone could never build. Resilience. Success feels good, but rejection builds strength. Success gives you results, but rejection gives you character. Success confirms your abilities, but rejection tests your belief in yourself. And confidence that survives rejection becomes unshakable. I remember a time when I faced consecutive rejections, one after another, and there was a quiet voice inside asking, how many